All right, good afternoon, board. We are live on 22. We're streaming to YouTube. Phone lines are not open for this meeting. You may begin.
Thank you very much, Matt. Welcome to the June 26, 2025 meeting of the Architects Review Board of the Town of East Hampton. We have 12 applications before us this afternoon. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting on June 12th? Diane, second. Clara, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Frank? Unanimously passed. We're going to skip the first item tonight just for a few minutes. Chris Britton, it's his application. He's on his way here, but he's going to be a couple minutes late. So we're going to start with item number 2 tonight, and then we'll go back to item number 1 as soon as he arrives. It's fences, walls, gates, and berms. This is Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-126-1-14.24. This is 12 Green Tree Court in Amagansett. Frank, it's yours.
Okay, this is an application for a gate on a cul-de-sac in Amagansett, which connects to a street that feeds into Old Stone Highway. The area is very private with no through streets. In this cul-de-sac, it's very little traffic. There's an existing deer fence up to about 9 feet around the property that this board approved in 2006. This applicant came before us in May, and the board asked that the applicant consider our comments and come back with a better dimension drawing. We've received a drawing that I believe largely resembles what was previously submitted, but we can go over that. Let's just go through so this is on a cul-de-sac. To get there, you go to Old Stone Highway to, I forget the name of the street, and then you go
La Forette,
and then you go on to Green Tree. So it's the only reason one would go into this cul-de-sac is if you were a resident or guest, basically. Keep going. And so there's this existing cattle grate, which the applicant explained to us wasn't effective. And there you can see the existing deer fence around the property. Keep going. So that's it. Maybe if Will, you can just bring up there you go. Is there a picture of the one with the house in the background? Should be one. Oh, that's okay. So anyways, the applicants come back with a dimension drawing where it's largely the same as the other, but a comment we had was to make the upper portion more, just a little taller proportionately of the open slats. If you could bring that up, Will. We also, so it's more open at the top than it was previously. It's still 6 feet at the post, and then I believe 5'10". I'm just looking at that. 5'10" for the gate leaf. Another comment the board have is if the applicant would consider using wood with a natural finish. I don't see anything about the finish, but I'll let you talk about that. So if you could just introduce yourself again to the board.
I'm Howard Chesson. My wife, Sandra, is the owner of the property. She lets me live there and asked me to speak on her behalf. I think we complied with everything that we in your letter, with the exception of discussing the color, I guess, of the gate. What I had asked for, and I'm still asking for, and hope you'll understand and agree, is for the gate to be painted white, as I had submitted pictures to you initially of what the proposed gate was going to be in a white, wood painted white, which is what it says on the bottom of that picture there, somewhere, sorry. A little tiny.
Okay, missed that.
Down there somewhere at the bottom. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason we were looking for that is because our house is a very traditional house. It's a cedar shake house with white trim everywhere. And even the garage doors, just to show you, all white like this.
Yeah, it's white trim and,
so it sort of fit in with the style of our house. And it's also very traditional not in an exceptionally modern fence or anything else. Went along very well. Just coincidentally, I was driving through town or whatever, and I found the identical fence, actually with the smaller openings at the top, on corner of Bluff Road and Meeting House Lane. Whereas you mentioned very clearly that my house is on a tiny cul-de-sac. I and two other homes, that's all there is on the entire cul-de-sac. So nobody drives there. This one was on a main street, and it's the identical fence that I'm looking for.
Well, it could have predated us, so.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that you approved it or didn't. I was just trying to say, and it looked perfect. It looked wonderful for that house. I appreciate the fact that you're looking for a natural wood because it sort of blends in with the feel of the whole area, which is what we love about the area. But we have to live with this for the rest of our lives. And that's not something that would make us happy living in the house, and considering we're so far off the beaten path that nobody is down there except my neighbors. And I do have a email today from my only neighbor who lives there full time. The other neighbors, and he has a big fence by the other neighbor. And he is very much in favor of what I'm proposing and is not objecting to it in any way. I'm hoping that you guys will appreciate that and allow us to have the fence as it is painted white.
We can discuss it.
Comments? Claire?
I like the idea that it's going to be a wood fence. I believe last time.
Sorry, I'm a little.
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me? I like the idea. I have no objection. I think last time we saw that it was an AZAC or like a more plastic material. This time it's the wood painted. So no objection for me.
All things considered, I have no objection to what you want to do either. Diane?
No, none at all.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Frank?
Okay, yeah, I mean, given your location, it's not to say that anything goes, but
It's a remote location and very few
I
people will see
appreciate
it.
that. Please, I've never gone through this before. What's my next step? Can I tell the gate people to start construction? What is the next step? How does this work?
so the next step is you will get a letter from us for the approval. Should come next week. It's called a resolution, so 2-page letter. And you would need to get a permit from the building department, I believe, to build this gate.
Showing them all
And
the,
so,
With your letter, we
Yes.
would go down to the
And
building
your-
department,
yes, and your design.
and they would give me a permit
Yes,
to do that.
yes.
yeah,
And then once they do that, then I can start the work.
yes, hopefully there's not, there's a bit of a backup in the building department.
I know that.
So hopefully that will work with your schedule, but that's the best we can do. Yeah, so you will get you'll have a permit for that, and then you take the permit to your contractor and get it built. And then I'll just let you know the process. So we will inspect it prior to the final occupancy of it. Once you're completed, you'll notify for the inspection.
Okay, so if we comply with everything we've discussed here, you come in and inspect it,
Yeah,
then we go in for the certificate of
you
occupancy.
just need to notify
Julie?
Julie that like you're done and you're ready for an inspection.
Well, thank you very much.
Just one caveat. Please make sure your contractor builds the gate exactly to the specifications that you were showing us tonight.
I'll tell them, they sent me this.
I know, but
you know,
they can't make it higher or low. They can make it lower, but they can't make it higher, say it was an error. It has to be exactly what you're showing us.
I will mention that to them. I'm assuming, I mean, they're a long time contractor.
We know them well.
Yeah, we
We
know
know them well.
Okay, I will tell them specifically that it has to comply exactly with the specifications that you put there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'll make a motion to approve the application as presented, where the material will be painted wood painted white.
Second,
Second.
Clara, all in favor?
Aye.
Chris, Diane, unanimously passed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
We're going to go back to application number 1. This is under fences, walls, gates, and berms. This is Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-170-3-19. And this is 618 Montauk Highway in Amagansett. Chris, it's yours.
Okay, this is an application for fencing and a business sign on a newly renovated existing structure that's going to be a commercial structure. It's right west of the traffic light at Brent's coming into Amagansett. This is the adjacent property to the west that has a small fence in place there. That's roughly in line with the property line of the line of the split rail fence that they're proposing. This is the front yard. The renovated gambrel roof structure is there on the right, and the commercial buildings are adjacent to it there. There's a concrete sidewalk that ends right at the beginning of this property. What they're proposing to do is put a split rail fence across the front, and there's also a business sign. It's more of really a directory sign. Will, can you show that, what they've proposed there? There you go. Yeah, as you can see, it's a very low-key sign with a directory of the commercial businesses that one presumes would be in this, occupying this property. For some reason, I'm having a hard time getting onto the server that shows the documents on this, so I can't remember the exact description of the side fence that's being proposed, but it was
Wire, I think it's a wire.
it was a wire fence, but I don't remember the height. So perhaps you could tell us about that.
Good afternoon, Board. Luis Bermeo with 618 Montauk Highway, LLC. The fence is going to be a wire fence embedded into vegetation, boxwoods, just to prevent from garbage from flying from the commercial side into our side.
How tall?
4 feet.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, the corner of it is going to be partially a split rail fence. So.
Right.
Okay.
It's a very odd building.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in general, that the property, it was in pretty bad shape before you guys did a very good job of bringing it back to life. And I think this is a pretty reasonable application. The fence, the sign is very low key. Very much in keeping with what kind of transitions here from pure commercial at the traffic light to starting to be more residential scale buildings and residential style buildings as you head west there. So I think it's pretty successful.
Comments, Frank?
No comments.
Clara?
No comments.
Diane?
I like the addition of the split rail for visual,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
villagey.
I think it'll pick up that even though that fence has been there for a while on the adjacent property, carrying through that line, it starts to establish a nice frontage there. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this application as presented.
Second?
Second.
Frank, all in favor?
Aye.
Diane, Claire, Chip, unanimously passed. Thank you very much.
Okay, just one last question.
Yep.
If we rent it to 4 buildings, to 4 offices, it's going to be the 4 names, but I have to come back if we rent it to only one business and they just want to put one big square on it as the name?
Yeah, do you have to come back for presumably you have to come back for every
Sign.
Every
sign.
every letter?
It's unfortunate, but
Okay, that's fine.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Bart.
Thank you. Moving on to agricultural overlays. This is Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-189-6-11.3. This is 290 Further Lane in East Hampton. Diane, this is yours.
Yes. Okay, well, here is a picture that doesn't really show the whole scope, but this is a massive project on the ocean, on Further Lane, and a property that goes from Further Lane to the ocean. And it's been before us and before all the various boards many times, as it has many aspects. But this time it's before us to make it lovely. So I'm very, very happy to say that this is probably will probably be the easiest approval of all the things that have come before this 290. What they are proposing, Will, I think the best thing, instead of showing my pictures, just it's like a construction city, I'm telling you. And it's going to, I understand it's not going to be ready until next year. And but in the meantime, they have proposed with beautiful renderings, taking this massive building and turning it more into sort of a European or a French chateau, building pergolas and some lattice walls, using very, very interesting plant material. Knowing this project, this is maybe that sort of wisteria that was always in bloom. Like all those British TV programs. Anyway, show some more of the, there's some, like what the building will look like completed and what it will look like with the addition of these lattices and plantings and pergolas and walkways. And I mean, it brings a very large building into much more human scale somehow, and certainly it makes it much more attractive. All the retaining walls, the lattice walls, all the walls, everything seems to be 5 feet 11 and a half inches, which of course, as we know, is not 6 feet, which we don't like. So I feel that I feel that this is a retaining wall that's being continued. It's on the eastern perimeter of the property. And anything else?
Val, any comments?
No, thank you. For the record, I'm the architect of record, Val Florio, and thank you, Ms. Benson. When I present houses, typically they're raw, meaning no vegetation, but given the scale of this house, as you so nicely pointed out, all of these organic embellishments will soften the look, and it's something that I wish I had been able to present to you when we first proposed this project before the board. Our landscape architects from Connecticut, Garden 26, are here tonight, but they've done outstanding work to integrate all of these very organic ingredients. And as you can see, this very, I won't say a cold building, but it is stone, it's large, and all of this has given it a human touch. So thank you for that.
Yes, well, I think it really gives the building a feeling of I don't know, softness and humanity, and it seems so stark and massive before, and this makes such a big difference.
Cold. And I would agree at the first presentation, because I tend to be very honest with the architecture, and I don't show trees, plantings. I want the board to see what does the building look like, and that way it's not a trick of the eye, if you will. I find that that's important, that this board respectfully see the mass and scale of everything. So I do it without plantings, but this is a very mindful process, which takes some time, and that's why I'm coming back to you much later. So thank you.
I think it's important also because the architecture tends to stay, and landscape can change with different owners, with different, and unfortunately, because this could be if this were to be developed and planted like this and maintained, and then let go, that would be a real shame. But it's lovely work. But
It's highly unlikely in this situation and this address. I mean, it's highly unlikely that it would ever come to ruin or come in.
Not in our lifetimes.
Yeah, not in our lifetimes.
I thought your gate choices were quite elegant, and beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful gates.
Yes.
So like on a site plan or a survey, can you just sort of like walk through what we're approving today? I don't want to have to get too in the weeds of it, but, okay. So we've got pergolas, gates, right?
And I think that maybe we need to mention the solar situation. That was the thing that was the most, when I looked at the plans and everything, I thought, why are they putting the solar panels there? It's basically on the ocean side of the house and parallel, more or less parallel to the pool and the pavilion and the gym and all the things that are there. But it's because of the slate roof, and you tell us.
To use an analogy, solar panels are like putting a bumper sticker on a luxury car. It's just, it's something that, it's a necessary ingredient as part of the town code. East Hampton Town uses the stretch code, which is one of the strictest standards in the nation. Comparable to California, where solar is really pushed quite heavily. We, on the other hand, have geothermal on this house in an effort to make it a greenhouse despite its size. There are 30 geothermal wells in the ground, which mitigate much of the potential use, but we're still required to have the solar. So it's about the size of a swimming pool in terms of its overall square footage, about 20 by 40. And rather than create a blight on the house, we put them on the ground, and that's acceptable. What's interesting, unlike most homeowners who have an oceanfront property, they push their home as close as they can to the ocean for the view. In this instance, we have an ag reserve to the north. We had pulled this house 75 feet away from the ocean. And in doing so, it created a deeper yard toward the dune, which gave us opportunity for that solar field. But really, there's more activity to the north, and it's part of the 6 acres. 2 acres is for the house, and 4 acres is the ag reserve. So it won't be viewed, but we have to have it by code. So, and again, it's a very attractive house. We don't want to put them on the roof.
Right.
So.
And above that line there, I'm seeing is presumably the ag reserve, right?
That's right.
So you can't go there.
Yeah. We have looked into, you may see me again, so not the last visit, but the ag reserve in the covenants and restrictions allows for an agricultural structure. And we were talking, instead of just a raw piece of real estate, to give it agricultural use, which would include a flower farm and something that would be approved by planning. And if we did that, we'd create a small structure to have equipment. But yeah, we tend to enhance and beautify this. At the last meeting, Diane, you had noted that we had a walkway into the field. And that was just pre-planning to see if planning board might consider, and in a year or two, we might go back to the planning and ask them kindly if we could turn it into a meadow of some kind. So
that sounds very nice.
Yes.
So the idea is
nice.
to move the solar panels into as an.
I don't know if they would allow that. They would serve a purpose still, but we'll keep them where they are. they're low some, and we can surround them with plants, so they're okay.
You can't do anything like a 30-inch high ha-ha to like,
Bury them.
to like
Yeah, let's
visually
do that.
knock it down
Yeah,
below the grade.
well, they do. Solar has come quite long way in the past 10 years where, as you know as an architect, that the efficiency, you can get one panel to do the work of two, and that's come quite far. So unfortunately, they don't last too long. They're only a 20-year lifespan for solar, and they fill up the landfills faster than they know what to do with them. So geothermal is a way, if anyone's listening, geothermal is a way to actually be more energy efficient, and it's clean. It's not promoted because solar companies don't make money off of drilling a hole in the ground. So, but we like geothermal.
Thank you for that insight.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the solar array. I don't know how visible it is from the dune, which is actually like, but it kind of is what it is.
So it's only visible from the ocean or from the, if you're there. I mean,
To answer your question, the geography is such, if you were on the ocean to look up towards the house,
You wouldn't
there
see it.
it's rolling hills.
Double dune.
And
it's so
yeah,
beautiful.
there's no
So
physical way
beautiful.
to,
To
you
see
might
it.
not even catch a glimpse of the house itself because it's so far back.
Yeah. Okay.
I would just go back to what Frank said before, if we can just quickly jump through the gates and maybe the locations.
Sure.
Thank you.
I think it was highlighted red, maybe. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Each gate has an arrow that where it's located.
Where's the pergola?
Yes.
Pergo's on the front door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right
And
there.
that was the wisteria that you were looking at.
Okay. I have no objection to this.
Diane, you're good.
no, I think it looks wonderful. It looks so much. I was so overwhelmed by this house, and now I feel like it's
It's embracing.
yes.
Chris,
I'm very happy.
I think it's really grounding the project.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I think we're all good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to accept this application as presented.
Second,
Second.
Chris, all in favor?
Hi.
Aye, unanimous. Thank you so much.
Thank you, board. Thank you.
Still under agricultural overlay, this is Twinkle Farm, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-193-2-9.7. This is 7 Green Hollow Road in East Hampton. Diane, this is also yours.
Yes, this Twinkle Farm is a very interesting place. Please ignore that car there, and it's very dirty, my car. They have come back to us. Basically, they have changed we initially approved agricultural wire gates, and they have changed the gates to these wooden gates, which look actually, I think, much better. And it's a whole compound. I mean, this part of Twinkle Farm. Now, the house is not part of Twinkle Farm, is that right?
No, it's the same beneficial owner.
Same beneficial owner. And this is, Green Hollow Road is back there behind Dune Alpin, where there are lots of, very nice but smaller units. So this is a beautifully proportioned grand house. And between this farm area is a beautiful leaded glass greenhouse. It's the whole thing is sort of magical, actually. And what they've proposed now, this show the other, the new gates, they sort of proportionately and in color-wise, everything, they blend into the whole property much more than the original or the other application. So I was very, very pleased with
Thank you.
With the
My client
changes.
will be very happy to hear that. They thought they did a really nice job with the
Yeah,
gates
really,
also.
as you can see the
yeah.
green, isn't it beautiful? It's like the real thing, you know? And there's a few more pictures, Will, I think. That's the outbuilding.
Why has this been back before us? Like, why have,
We were back for you once for the accessory structure that you can see in the back. They added solar panels and they put skylights on it. So we had to come back to get that approved because that wasn't part of the original plan. And they also added an outdoor sink on the one end, which we were told that we needed to come back to you guys for as well. So we did that. And when we were back here for that, it was brought to our attention that the prior approval, which I wasn't involved in obtaining, did not have these gates. It just, had the standard wire fence
Okay, that's
gate. So we were told, come on back.
Blue color is so pretty. One of them there specifically noted that it's light blue to match the trim on the house, and it's very pretty.
That's the one there?
Mhm.
the one gate I think is kind of funny, I don't quite understand, is
The tall one.
the one that's like solid with open fencing on either side, not that one.
The tall one, that one, right?
That one?
Yeah.
I believe I submitted some photos which show the gate in front of the gate in front of the house. It's the blue one. It's a little wider than the others. No.
it's-
Now that
keep
they
go
put
down,
that
two
walkway
more.
in, that wide walkway, I don't know, it looked very awkward to me
No.
initially, but
Sorry,
it doesn't
Will.
look,
That one, number
One above
11.
it.
Yep. Is
The
that the one you're?
No, the page previously. Maybe that's the same gate. I just, no,
No, I
that's
don't
it.
think so.
Just zoom out.
Yeah, there's.
No,
Talk about the two solid gates with just a
Next
small,
page.
that one.
that one. I don't, I understand.
yeah, the
this
big
gate.
one.
That gate is
It
the
just
access
looks like
from
a
the common
building plan.
driveway.
What's that?
I said this is an access from the common driveway.
I just think it's kind of funny looking, to be honest. Like,
It is funny looking, but now in the context, you have to, this
Okay.
is so unexpected, this whole Twinkle Farm in this, in this location, it's very unexpected. And somehow now that everything has been reproportioned and changed to wood, it's not as awkward as it seemed.
How tall is this gate?
Looks like 6 feet.
6 feet?
Yeah, 6 foot,
6'10"
6
or
foot 10,
5'10"?
6 foot 10.
16.
It's 6'10".
6'10".
it's like, it's,
I have a picture of that from the driveway, which might give it a little more reference
Context.
because you have the accessory structure behind it with glass windows like directly
I think,
behind that.
Will, I think we have that one.
Yes. Yeah, that.
Is there a plan for that planting to be growing appreciably taller around the fence?
Box?
Not,
It's boxwood. It doesn't look like it's going to grow very much. I'm just
not that
wondering.
I'm aware of. I mean, this is all on the common driveway. This isn't on the street.
yeah, this is not facing any.
Yeah, and you
public-
can't
Not
see
facing the
anything.
public.
I just wondered because to address your question, Frank, it seems like that if that were to be planted, then it would look like a normal gate in a privet hedge or something. But
I just think it's funny. It's not more like an agricultural gate, which is more open. It's like this
It is funny.
like formal opaque
It's
door
it's overscaled for what it
with,
is.
that, yeah, it's completely open all around it.
But the ag gates that were approved were what height? 8 feet?
The same height as the ag fencing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not, given its placement on the property and where this is relative to any public, I'm not going to object to this. It just,
And just to,
It's odd,
I'm not
but-
sure why this was flagged as agricultural overlay, where, as far as I can tell on the zoning map, we are, we are not ag overlay.
This
for
is
this property.
You're
Dune Alpine
adjacent
across the
to it.
street is-
you're adjacent to it.
No, not from, I could be mistaken, but from what I can see on the zoning map, this is not ag overlay.
It looks to me on a satellite photo that between this house and East Hampton Tennis Club is a big agricultural open field.
I'm not disputing, there's a field over, I don't have the property card, but I did have the,
So this would be adjacent to an ag overlay, probably, if not in it.
Isn't the Dune Alpin Field across the street an ag overlay?
not from this property. I do have the zoning map. So this is the property here.
It says the first thing on the property card, this is an agricultural reserve area.
That's correct, but we're not overlay. We're not in the ag overlay district or adjacent to it.
Well, if you're,
I don't think it
it is
matters.
what it is.
Doesn't matter. I think,
You're here.
I'm here.
I think we're going to pass this gate.
First, because it wanted a 9-foot high agricultural fence.
Okay.
So that needs ARB approval. So that-
Understood. I just,
Okay.
I don't know why
But-
this was ag overlay, I don't know.
okay.
Was this originally approved as an 8-foot fence and an 8-foot gate?
I don't remember, I just.
I think it's ag fencing,
I
yes.
think actually it was even taller at one point. But somehow now that everything is complete and you know, the house looms behind it and the house is quite a extravagant house. It doesn't seem so
I think it's
peculiar
fine.
anymore.
It seems,
I think it was even taller and I think they cut it down, you know,
I believe the fence on the roadway is at 8 foot, and once you're off the roadway, I believe it does cut down and there's wires. It's, I think, 6 foot of squares and then wires above that for the next 2 feet.
Okay, we're all good with this? Chris?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, Diana. I think we're good.
okay, then I would like to make a motion to accept this application as you have presented it.
I have a second.
Thank you all.
Second.
Frank, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Clara?
Aye.
Aye. So unanimously passed. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a nice afternoon.
Still an ag overlay. This is a modification, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-166-4-3.2, and this is 56 Spring Close Highway in East Hampton. Clara, this is yours.
Thank you. So this application was approved by this board on May 3rd, 2016, and we had it in front of us again recently for the extension of the time. As of right now, the applicant would like to, so originally we approved construction of a 9-foot tall fence with 4x4 posts. The applicant now seeks to modify this approval to allow for a 6-foot tall fence with the 6x6 posts. You can see the pictures of the property that I've taken 2 days ago. I don't know, I don't have any objection to this since
I cut the post down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it looks amazing compared to the previous pictures. I don't know if you have anything to add to the application.
No, I mean, I wasn't involved in the prior approval. I think they had plans for the property that changed. And so I think they got confused as to what was supposed to be built. And so it's currently a 6-foot tall fence with 6-foot tall posts.
Which is perfect. Yeah.
Looks great. Yeah.
Everyone agree?
Yeah.
Yep. We're good, Claire.
Okay, I would like to approve this application then as presented.
I have a second.
Second,
Diane, all in favor?
Aye.
Chris, Frank, Chip, unanimously passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
that was easy.
Moving on to the Historic District section. This is Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-171-2-9.1, and this is 267 Main Street in Amagansett. Frank, this is yours.
Okay. This is an application to modify a previously approved resolution to construct a single-family residence on Main Street in the Historic District of Amagansett. This property sits just east of downtown Amagansett. Yeah, let's look at the photos. The existing house there was built in 1899 and is known as the Joseph Whitman Baker House. The property has been unoccupied and abandoned for some time now, and the existing structure is no longer salvageable. In 2018, this board approved an application to demolish the residence and rebuild it in kind with an addition. Earlier this year, this board approved an extension to that 2018 resolution. The application before us today is to technically modify that 2018 resolution. I'm going to quickly summarize some square foot numbers. And when I say existing numbers, this is for the approved 2018 resolution. My understanding, not for the structure that currently stands. So GFA being proposed is 2,790 square feet, which is 900 square feet more than the resolution of 1,804. The maximum allowable is 3,111, so it's 400 square feet. It's about 350 square feet less than allowable. Building coverage is 2,000 square feet versus 1,314. So it's 234 feet less than allowable. I think that's the building coverage. Lot coverage has more than doubled, mainly because of a pool being proposed, 4,261 versus 5,589. The biggest change to what this board previously approved is, so there's the survey. And then, Will, if we can dive into the architectural, there's the architectural. If you can go to page 1 of the PDF, which has a rendering, it's actually explains it pretty well. So to the right, it's really not seen in the rendering. Believe the rendering is, I'm not seeing the right side of the house.
It's the angle that we're at.
Okay.
That other side is pushed back significantly.
Okay.
So you don't see it in this view.
Okay. So basically what was previously approved was the right addition. What's new to this, what we're technically modifying, the biggest part of it is this addition off to the left. Which is to the west, which is towards, and I will note also that this is a common driveway that goes to the back there.
The farm.
And so this wing here there's a sitting room, I guess you could call it a sitting room on the ground floor, a bedroom suite upstairs. There's also we'll see in the drawings, there's a pool patio in back. And we talked about it last time, let's go through the drawings. The east side does breach the pyramid, but that is grandfathered. So we're not concerned about that. So the glazing is changing, which I have no objection to. I have no objection to the change in the glazing. We can talk about what they think about the glazing. But I want to read, because this is in the Amagansett Historic District, and this is what really the board is tasked to uphold the zoning code here. So I'm not going to read all of it, but there's the part about the Amagansett Historic District and the guidelines. So the preservation goals of the district are as follows: promote a harmonious and cohesive character for all of Main Street. Maintain and enhance the elements that contribute to the overall setting of historic houses, open front yards and traditional fences along the street. Maintain the architectural integrity of the historic houses, especially of the front facades and other components visible from the street. Allow additions and other changes to the rear walls, and in appropriate ways to side walls to allow the historic houses to be adapted to changing needs and lifestyles. Maintain the architectural integrity of the barns and the integrity of their setting. Maintain the architectural integrity of the historic commercial buildings. Retain rural and informal character of the central district, characterize a mix of building types and spaces between buildings. And guide redevelopment of non-historic buildings. Legally, I don't know if this is a historic building. I don't think it is technically it's historic in nature because it's old, but I don't believe this has a designation of a historic building.
I don't believe this was one of the named.
Right. It's not. So technically, legally, this is not an historic structure.
It's in a historic district.
Historic district, right. So guide redevelopment of non-historic buildings, which is what this is, in the central business district to increase compatibility with neighboring historic commercial and residential buildings and with the character of the historic district in general. I'm going to skip over the preservation goals because I think they're pretty pretty self-evident, but this is important. Talks about section 10, additions and alterations. Additions and alterations are appropriate when they do not diminish the architectural integrity or setting of a building. Additions and alterations should not alter an important historic feature of a building and should be compatible with the historic character of a building in the district. The addition or alteration should be compatible with the historic building and with the character of this district in scale, height, massing, proportion, and arrangement of windows and other openings, roof form, texture, materials, and architectural details. Flexibility is required in reviewing additions and alterations to rear walls and to secondary side walls, where installation of doors, windows, and additions with more glazing than found in the historic can be expected. Additions should be subordinate in scale to historic buildings. Additions in the historic may serve as precedent for proposed new additions. Anyways, that's the bulk of it. I think the board just needs to be reminded of this. I think there's some things, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and speak, but generally speaking, I think that what is being proposed here largely does conform to the code, the zoning code here. And I think there's been a good effort being made here to conform to it. That said, I think I may have some questions, some board members may have some comments about the massing here, but I'd like you to walk through and explain maybe in more detail, particularly the material palette and colors.
My name is Charles Ferrazza with Bottas Ferrazza Architects in East Hampton. And we also, before we actually get started, I had some conversations with Chris yesterday, and I did make some amendments to the elevations. I don't know if you want me to give them to you guys now or.
Sure.
There we go. You can see it on
Mm-hmm.
on the front elevation, the west wing. If you look in the previous elevation, the ridge height was actually at the top of the main gable. We since have lowered that to align with the gable on the right side, which is a much nicer, softer feel, I think, to that elevation, brings the scale down, and also complements the main gable, which was the original part of the house. Also, from the west side, we gave a little bit more architectural interest and some detail so that this way from the street side, when you're approaching, I guess, from the west to the east down Montauk Highway, you would see another hip roof above like a paneled window system to kind of break that facade down where the symmetry actually began to give it a little bit more weight. It was a little heavy looking. So we feel that this kind of breaks that facade down a little bit. Softens it, but also offers some more architectural details, which you probably will see as you come down Montauk Highway. I'm not sure, but we felt like that actually softened the elevation both from the front and from the east, from the west side.
Yeah, I think it's an improvement for what was originally approved.
Great improvement.
Yeah. Thank you.
One thing I was wondering if you could go back to the first page of the drawings, the rendering. And if you could just talk also one thing about the color of the trim. It's Cape May, right?
Correct. What our goal is we're going to shingle the sidewalls with Alaskan yellow cedar and let it naturally gray out like the windmill. And hopefully find a color, and we're doing some research, but that was a pretty comparable color to what the shingles will look like at some form of a significant weathering of the shingles.
Okay.
That's the goal, to make almost even the actual windows and the trim and the columns to look like they're all Alaskan yellow cedar, and it all just eventually just grayed out to a nice soft color. That will almost kind of disappear into the landscape. It's really amazing when you put a Alaskan yellow cedar building into a natural environment. It kind of just blends very nicely. It doesn't stick out like a sore thumb.
Do you have any kind of a sample, or like just so the board's going to need to see that?
I don't. I can get some paint chips and drop them off. I can do that for you.
Yeah. I mean, I take your word at it, but we just need to know what that is. My biggest comment is actually, or biggest concern, it's due to this nature of this house where I looked at the grading plan, where this driveway, where the house, the lawn in front of the house is like 2 feet below, right? The driveway. And so you have to mediate that. And the issue I have is I'm concerned about is that small retaining wall there. I'm not sure. I just don't know how appropriate that is in terms of the historic district to have at least what I'm seeing. I'm not sure what the material being proposed for the.
It would just be bluestone, cut bluestone, basically blocks of bluestone that would actually be stood up in front of a concrete block wall to retain the actual soil at the driveway and give us enough length to get an appropriate pitch so we can actually drive back down into that depression that's in front of the house.
So what is the masonry cladding on that?
So it's actually bluestone wall.
Okay.
Does it exist now?
It does not. I can get you pictures of that as well if you'd like.
Can we go back to the photo of what it is now so people can see an idea of that?
Yeah, that retaining wall is also going to be necessary on the west side.
I didn't think so. Okay.
Yes, you can see there's a pretty significant drop.
Could you fill it in?
Yeah, it could be
Yeah, I
handled
mean, it's almost
in
like
several
the
ways.
biggest problem with this, with
If you
it
fill it
is
in, we're
like,
going to be above the finished floor of the house. That's going to be the problem. And I'll be stepping down into the house.
Yeah, they're constrained,
is the-
even though it's grandfathered with the, on the east pyramid, but the west pyramid becomes more of a problem if you start lifting the house to accommodate a higher grade.
yeah,
They're really constrained here with
the driveway is the biggest problem I see with this and how to tastefully.
Well, the other thing is from the driveway, you're not going to really see much of that wall. And as you drive by, you're not going to see it. The only part you'll see if you go back to the rendering would be pretty much the wall that actually faces the street. And I don't know, eventually they're going to do any more planting alongside of this wall in here. But you'll see this wall possibly if this doesn't get planted out, and you'll see that. But it's blue, so I can get pictures and show you.
I mean, I can understand. I can envision it, right? But I mean, it will look better, I think, than what you have rendered here, which it kind of comes across as like a varnished.
It's very hard.
The lighting makes
Yeah,
it.
when you get the sun on materials,
it's a
it
rendering.
bleaches it out.
But I don't know, just the shape of it. I don't know.
I mean, we could do it in brick to match the foundation. Also, there's brick foundation there. If the board feels that would, be better looking and warmer, we could do with brick with a bluestone cap.
I almost feel like a more natural stone feels more appropriate, like a field stone wall kind of.
Maybe it's like the coping I'm having an issue with.
Yeah.
If there's a formality to the coping.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. It feels more like an office parking lot. And if you read the historic code, which Frank did, these front lawns should be open. And so plunking this pretty large parking area between the house and the sidewalk, I think goes against the code, which doesn't want, it says the front lawn should be open. And it feels more like, my dentist is going to be in there, even though it's a gorgeous house and you've done a great job. I think the parking is an issue here. And I don't know where else you'd put the parking, but the other houses in this area do not have front parking lots between the house and the sidewalk.
I know that's kind of a challenge also because, if you go back to the original picture of the house, there was no driveway there either. There was nowhere to put on the grass.
Yeah.
You had that common driveway that goes all the way back to the farm, but you couldn't park there. Obviously, you block access. So I have no idea. Where did they park?
No, they probably just parked on the lawn.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Is there any way you could put that parking behind the house?
There's not even enough room back there.
And then I think you just have to mitigate this dentist office parking lot situation with that wall because
Move the house further, closer to the street.
Moving the house is
problematic.
You lose your grandfathered status as.
Sorry.
And honestly, I think if we did move the house, it's going to change the way it appears on Main Street. Moving that forward 30 feet.
Yeah, the
parking behind it, it's going to change that whole.
The appearance on Main Street, I don't think would bother me as much at all because there's a randomness to the frontage that the planning board asked you to illustrate, in which you did in the adjacent property. It's pretty clear that it could be moved forward, but it's going to mess you up in all sorts of ways with zoning and approvals to get to reposition a non-conforming house like this.
I mean, there is the property to the east of it is a bed and breakfast, and so it looks like a house. It's a bed and breakfast, and there's a gravel parking area in front of that.
Where people drop.
Landscaped and wooded though, that property? I'm trying to remember exactly what it looks like.
It's renovation. There's a whole bunch of cottages in the back. People come in, they drop their bags.
I mean, those photos I sent of 261, I don't know if you'd want to pull it up, but that has happened. The last page of that PDF that I sent has,
Yeah,
those are
I
Chris's.
put in some photos also in 261 that have some adjacent properties.
Okay.
See,
This is all the green areas, and there's one of the bed and breakfast with a little pullout area of the.
Keep going. I think these are mine. They look like it. Yeah. Next one. That's what's next door to the right.
Uh-huh.
So there is.
That's been there forever, though.
Yeah.
And that's all the way to the road too.
The
right?
point is there is some parking in front. I do understand. And I just think that basically I don't have so much, and I don't really have an issue with the architecture of the house. It's more the hardscape that's being proposed here, how you go in, and I'm not sure what that is. I think this is really like a landscape architecture problem.
I think it's that curve. That curve feels very modern.
And I don't know whether it's better to enter into the house, enter in where there's less of a drop in grade, like
In the front of at the street?
closer to the street. Like near the front, because you've got, is it better from a grading perspective, less harsh you go in, turn in close? I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, can you?
I feel like this is a little bit outside my wheelhouse and a landscape architect would.
Yeah. I mean, it could possibly be in the front. You could come in there and it would be more hidden behind the tree. And if there's a fence there, it would be hidden behind that.
I think Chris's idea of using field stone, so it feels like
a farmhouse, a kind of a farmhouse field stone, a little informal feeling to it would soften it. I was trying to read the description of your front hedge also, because there's still a significant amount of open green, potentially well-landscaped green space in front of that's going to really mitigate. This is not, that parking is not like the B&B next door with right behind the picket fence. So you've got existing privet hedge to remain.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, part of this could also be, softening this with a good compatible street front edge that contributes to the residential character of this part of the historic district could go a long way. I think planting around that retaining wall and softening it in terms of a more traditional agricultural type of stone material might help.
I'm just not convinced that the curb cut off of that driveway is the best location. I mean, maybe it is, but maybe pulling it a little bit closer to the street to actually give some relief from the drive, and then you might actually be able to use to grade it to where you don't have to have such a 2-foot wall.
Yeah,
again,
you could manipulate the grade and ramp all that up. I didn't think that the board would look favorably on that, especially the fact that, we were trying to leave as much lawn and natural landscape as was already existing between the actual house and the roof.
Yeah.
But we most certainly can, kind of ramp up to a more level driveway to the actual access, the easement. We could definitely do that with all the fill coming out of the foundation and everything else that's going there. We can definitely do that.
Again, I don't want to play landscape architect.
No, I'm not saying that. I want to make sure that the board is happy with what we're presenting, but I was also trying to respect exactly what was there, trying to think about as you're walking down Main Street, not seeing that drastic change. All of a sudden you lift the cars up also now 2.5 feet above. Now they're looking at the cars directly where before they're actually depressed down. So kind of.
And could be planted out.
Yeah, it could be planted out.
But I just sort of suspect by pulling it back, you're going to give a little relief to the house.
Okay.
Whereas this is really kind of encroaching on the house to try to maximize the front lawn.
Right.
Whereas I think that the house kind of needs to breathe a little bit from that wall.
We could look at other options for that.
Yeah, and it would feel less like an office, I think, if it was moved away. Okay.
But I think it's a landscape.
It's a landscape issue.
landscape
I mean, I think
issue
we're
as
very
opposed to-
positive on the house. Right, yeah.
And how should we look at the, I mean, I think the board is overall very favorable on the revised lowered wing as opposed to.
Yes, bigger. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and for the sake of the architect, so assuming when you come back, we're really focusing on these site issues more. If anybody has any comments on the architecture, I think now is a good time to voice it for glazing or.
I think the glazing's great. It's
Yeah, I think the house.
You sure you don't want those old 1/1 replacement windows that were in there now?
This is 2/2. Very Victorian. It's in keeping with the neighborhood. It's a home run, the house.
Yeah, I think that.
Great, thank you.
Have you, I know you drew them because, they're in these drawings, but they're not shown details, but part of a reconstruction is going to be to very, very carefully document and reproduce the profile detail of the turned porch posts, the rake and eaves, fascia details. And I guess, I mean, they're in there, but I couldn't zoom in enough.
Yeah, no, we'll be documenting and we'll be saving some of the rake moldings and having them reproduce. Same thing with the spun columns in the front. We actually reconstituted the same columns and we put them paired in the back over the rear porch to try and marry the addition to the actual existing house. So yeah, we'll carefully, the contractor will carefully save all that stuff and reproduce it.
I think it's unfortunate loss to lose the charming bay window on the west side, but.
So unfortunately, the wrong spot.
But this somehow recalls it in some ways. The shallow bay there.
So how do we proceed?
Well, we proceed with comments, so they've got to come back with us anyway with a sample.
No, this isn't comments. No, this is just,
No, I mean,
our comments and then they come back with the.
I don't think we can approve this today because first of all, we don't have the trim sample.
Yeah.
The paint color sample.
The paint color sample, just so we know what that is. And then
Revised
options for the
landscaping, driveway,
Yeah,
parking.
yeah,
it's
definitely.
really like that retaining wall issue and.
Yeah, we did actually provide in the packet of materials. I can get you the physical sample, but we did actually have a color sample swatch in that packet.
Okay.
But if we're coming back, I can get a paint sample. It's not a problem.
Okay.
I think it'd be great.
Would we approve this without the without the retaining wall? In the drive, just the house itself?
we could approve the house and then they'll have to either modify that resolution to add the driveway or just come back with a new driveway.
We could just come back with your driveway.
Okay, let's
Yeah, that retaining wall. So
That way
Yeah.
you guys can just get started on this and then you guys can do different
Right.
options.
the retaining wall is not in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I need the house, it's the house proper and the pool and the terrace in the back is all good. It's just the actual driveway and the retaining walls that we'd have to come back with.
Also, I didn't, I looked in the lighting file, but it looked like plans and it didn't look like light fixtures. I know we had a black wall sconce for next door, but is that, I'm sure it's in there. Maybe it was in the materials sheets.
It's not in the materials or the lighting.
No, I didn't see it.
No, that's looking as well.
I could provide a spec for the sconce. It's not a problem.
CD glass, whale oil.
Yeah, if you could cut in you do have it on the elevations, right?
Yeah, it is actually in the drawing,
Where's there like?
but there's no model number or anything. I could get you an actual spec for it. That's not a problem.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, so we're going to come back with comments and then is that? Are we gonna-
Let's approve the house and then,
Okay, approve it without you'll have to come back for the lighting and okay.
And as amended with the revised,
yes.
the revised elevations.
Oh, the sconce actually, the spec of the sconce is actually on the lighting plan.
Yeah,
On the site, there's a site lighting plan and there's a cut.
Oh, site lighting, okay.
It's on sheet A 2.1. Yeah, it has everything on there.
A 2.1.
Yeah, those exist. It should be in the beginning. It should be the third sheet in.
I think I'm missing the page A 2.1. Yeah, I think we have a 2.0 and after 3.0.
Do you have it there?
I have it here, yeah.
Can we just look at it? I mean, normally do, but if we're fine, then if you can submit the cut sheet.
Oh, it's
Oh,
a
yeah, that's what
typical,
it's
yeah, downlight,
That's fine.
farm down.
Oh, it's the same, it's actually the same as you got next door, right? Yeah.
Okay, so just submit the cut sheet for that, or submit that sheet.
A 2.1 will stick, because it actually has a lighting diagram.
Yeah.
And I'd encourage some development of the A 2.3 landscape plan.
Okay, Frank,
Okay, I'd like to make I'd like to make a motion to approve this application as presented, pending receipt of sheets A 2.1, 2.1, and this excludes any retaining wall and hardscape beyond the building footprint.
second.
Second.
Clara, all in favor?
Aye.
Chris, Diane, Chip, unanimously passed. Okay, Charles, thank you.
Great, thank you.
And we're going to go to comments to planning. And this is for the building next door. This is Suffolk County Tax number 300-171-2-8, and this is 261 Main Street, Amagansett. Chris, this is yours.
Okay, right next door.
Oh.
Yeah, right next door.
Okay.
This is an application to relocate a historic house in the historic district, bring it farther forward to the street. It's actually not an application, it's comments to planning. So we're not voting on this tonight. We're just we'll be presenting comments to planning, but obviously the architects can listen in and hear what we have to say. The application, the project is proposed to move this existing historic home forward on the property, and that's basically to give parking to the rear of the property, and which is one of the planning department's the planning board's stipulations. So what they're doing is they're making they're keeping the house substantially similar. They're doing a rear addition. These are some of the details of the existing house that would be preserved and rebuilt with new trim to match these existing. The mullion patterning of the windows would be the same. They're proposing wood windows. This is some of the interesting character of the front porch. It's obviously going to be carried forward with the move. These are some of the adjacent historic houses that just give a sense of the relationship to the street and the feeling of the front yard with parking in the back. It's all green, no parking there. You can just flip through these. Well, these are the houses down the street on the same side of the street. So you can see the character. Yeah. And one of the things that the planning board had asked the applicant to do, which is something that they have provided, well, if you want to bring that up, was a comparative analysis of the setbacks. They were concerned that moving the house would disrupt the character and the feel and the rhythm of the street. And I mean, you can see that this house is located right where the dense commercial center kind of stops. And as you head east, it becomes more residential in character. So this is one of the first residential feeling buildings, even though they've approved the change of use to commercial. But if you can zoom in, first let's zoom in on the line drawing on that property. You can see where the house is. And you can see the house that we just talked about, 267 next door, which is further back. And then it jumps forward again as you head east and stays, then it jumps back and forward and back and forward. So there's a lot of variety here. And I wanted to point that out as part of the issue. I mean, they're putting a lot of parking here because of its commercial use. They're putting a lot more parking and allocating more space than obviously renovating this as a house would need. But they're doing that in the attempt to really push all that service stuff to the back. And I think one issue that we'll have to look at is, and we can look again in the renderings when we get there, but that the front yard is again a question that we can talk about here. Generally, the architecture, the addition that they're doing to the rear is very much in keeping with the house. Let's see where we can start to look at. Let's look at the rendering. Well, it's at the very beginning of the. Yeah, there we go. So you can see that there's one curb cut that's missing behind the house. There are actually two curb cuts for two different parking areas. So this was probably just the computer rendering couldn't quite do that kind of depth, but it goes a little further back than this would indicate.
So the house will no longer be white; it'll be shingled, natural cedar.
It's shingled on the sides.
Yeah, on the side it's shingled.
And it's shingled on the front, but it's just stained white or painted white.
But the new one will be just natural.
I think that was their original intent, but if they could paint it white, I think they'd prefer to.
And they're proposing to change the roof material of the porch from basically it's like an EPDM or some kind of membrane roof to this looks like standing seam, but they're calling it out as flat seam because I think probably because of the pitch.
Allowed to be standing.
Yeah, it's a pretty flat pitch. So a flat seam, lead coat copper, wooden windows, again matching the mountain pattern that's there now.
This is the same owners.
Yes.
John Hummel.
This is the Hummel office proposed, and next door is Hummel residence.
So given what's going on in the back where there's a massive parking lot, why is there parking up front for one or two cars?
So the only reason why we actually did the parking up front was accessibility. We weren't sure if we would be required to have an accessible parking. So we had ADA compliant parking in the rear and in the front. But we visited with the fire marshal. We were trying to get to the bottom of all this. I mean, it is another spot, but it's more for accessibility than anything else. I believe when we spoke to the planning department, they also said that we could use the town lot in the back for additional parking if we put a gate on our property that would allow access back and forth, which we have no problem doing. This was more about just being respectful of ADA compliance. That's what that parking space really was for. We actually had another one in the rear, and not knowing if we were legally required to have one or two based on the square footage of the building and the occupancy load, that's why we had that space there. So if it needed to go and it had to be all on, it wouldn't be a problem.
I would love that.
I would love it if it were to disappear.
And it's sort of a trade-off with the previous house. I mean, we can't do it there, but it seems like you could do it here, and I think it would be much more appealing and make it look much more residential.
Especially considering the front yard is so much smaller.
As long as we get compliance with the town and the fire department that we can actually eliminate that instead of having two means of egress from the building, because it's a whole different code issue with that.
Yeah.
I just need to make sure that legally we're okay with that, and I'm sure you do too.
I think also that you're caught in between two different desires here. One is to provide accessibility, but the other is to show it as gravel, which wouldn't really work. So if this had to be a paved space, it would be even worse.
Yeah, that's why we chose to do the gravel. We even talked about grass block, but I don't know if that complies with ADA compliance.
I think it has to be paved.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So
okay. So
I mean, my comment to planning would be that that violates
the historic
clause B, maintain and enhance the elements that contribute to the overall setting of the historic district. Historic houses, open front yards, and traditional fences along the street.
Yeah.
So I think this is this is making, it's detrimental to
Yeah.
that. It's making.
And it's a good
not an
trade-off
improvement,
with
it's making
what we
it
just
worse.
talked about.
I think overall, these are both projects that are contributing to the district. I think by bringing back these houses and really, cleaning them up and taking care of them it goes a long way. And of course, we have to make accommodation for the modernized, uses, modern living in a house. But I think in terms of parking, you've got ample street parking. You've got, I think the landscape plan already showed a path that went over to the to the lot. So you've got, a lot of available parking there. And I think if we can guide the planning department with our feedback relative to the code about that space in front, that would go a long way.
So a couple of comments and one comment, one question. Comment would be, yeah, if we could eliminate, we're talking about that front parking space, it would be nice to have a separate pedestrian pathway from the sidewalk, I think.
Sidewalk, yeah.
A sidewalk curb cut, just a pedestrian path. So if all the parking is in the rear and the town has offered the use through the parking lot, I mean, are we?
Well, it was brought up at the planning. I don't know if it was actually approved, but it was brought up at the planning.
So if it was in discussions, would that mean that the driveway to the main street would be eliminated?
No, it would have to still be there because we actually have to access, their everyday work trucks to go back there. Like pickups, nothing crazy, but they still need access to get to their parking spaces. Project managers will be in and out of the building, so they need that access to get back there.
Okay.
But we are going to do a gravel driveway up front, so it's not going to be paved. It's nothing like that.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, my comment to planning again would be like if you're having big pickup trucks coming and going, which this is a residential house right now. So what you are adding is you're adding traffic going in and out of this property that's kind of commercial related. The town should encourage accessing through like near the library into the back rear of this, because I would be concerned about, it's just a nice walking area that having construction vehicles coming in and out, turning left onto the highway, it's better served to have those vehicles coming through the public parking lot.
Well, can you show that the I think it's called the landscape plan or planting plan or something like that. It's a rendered site plan. Yeah, there we go. I think that's already starting to show the walkway at the back there next to the shed.
Yeah.
That connects up to the lot.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So that's already been, taken into account. They're already starting to address the planning comments on that. And here you can see that, there's a curb cut, and then then it just widens out to be nose-in parking back behind.
But it's kind of a detailing question, but there was a way in which planning could dictate where like a large commercial truck would have a more difficult time making it down that driveway and in and out, where you're sort of encouraging them by the difficulty of it to go.
Yeah, just so you know, they're not planning on using large construction. This is basically project managers that'll be.
Well, I mean,
they have another shop that they're going to keep where all their bigger trucks will be, all their cabinet making is all offside of that. This is strictly just office.
So pickup
They're
trucks.
making pretty big pickup trucks these days. That's all I got to say.
That, so.
So anyways, those are our planning.
Claire, your comments?
I would agree with the driveway or the access to the back parking lot as well, because yes, it's very busy, especially in the summertime. This is year-round business, so there's any way to maybe, I'm not saying full eliminated this driveway, but maybe provide another way to get there, to have like 2 points of access to that parking lot. That would be great, as well as the ADA parking to keep it in the back.
Yeah.
So we can eliminate it, have maybe some kind of landscaping or something in front of it. Otherwise, the building, I have no comments. The design.
There's one other thing about the building. If we can Will, if you can look at the proposed east elevation. There's a stipulation in the code, in the historic district code for this district, about how some existing additions to historic buildings can act as precedents for these buildings, and I think therefore that new additions end up acting as precedents as well. And one of those things is that rear additions are most often have a slight setback from the side wall. And this one doesn't. I don't think it's a deal breaker, but looking at the plans, that upstairs conference room and the downstairs print room might be able to shrink by just a corner board of width to create a little jog there to preserve the original core. If you look at the existing elevation on the east. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this elevation if it were a new construction.
It's a big side of
and it's certainly less expensive to build in a straight line than to do a 6-inch jog in your facade. But there's the existing. You can see that would preserve the kind of the memory of the original core. Even though the first floor rear addition, I don't know when that was done, but that runs straight. But you can still see the corner board up above preserved. So I think it might be not that we're voting on it, but that would be something to consider for when you do come back to us with with final plans.
Yeah, we just try to clean that wall up, as you can see in the newer elevation, just making it one.
Yeah, I mean the big window on the stairwell, it's a nice treatment for letting a lot of light down through there. I think it's going to be beautiful. I just think trying to preserve that memory of the historic core of the historic house, because this is one of those historic houses that's listed. So I think it would be nice to follow the precedent of other additions that the way the code has been written, and then this in turn becomes a precedent for future work.
Is this house being
Well said.
taken down and rebuilt?
No.
So you would have to
Move it, put foundation,
so they
put
would
back
have to
in, or we're preserving
alter
it
it
as
a
much as
little
we
bit to
can.
do that, to cut it.
Well, the back is being presumably cut off.
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to
because the back is not really remaining.
I don't know what they're going to actually lift and try and preserve. We haven't gotten to
I mean,
that yet.
if you look at the proposed, there's.
I think you're right, Chris. You probably
that
cut off the rear and lift the original house part.
Yeah, because the footprint's different.
We can put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, either way, we could even possibly leave the existing the way it is, and the second floor could push back, so you still get to feel that main gable, the articulation of the main gable in that space, and looking at that facade. It may be possible to do it that way too, where just the second floor stays back just 6 inches or so you still feel that main gable coming down.
I think it would be a strong way to keep that memory of the core of the house.
Okay, we'll look into that.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay, I think we're good.
Right.
Just one other comment. I made a comment about painting the house white in the front, or not. I'm not sure where we stood on that, but obviously we'll be back before you again, so
That's fine.
we'll present that.
I mean, the house is white now, and it looks kind of
Yeah,
charming.
it's white and then shingles on the side. I can't remember if they wanted to do all shingles or
It'd be interesting to see if maybe there's some digging that could be done in historic photos of, because this is one of the historic houses in the district, and I don't know, maybe the old house was natural and they decided to paint it in white. I don't know. So maybe you're restoring it, in fact.
Well, I think the client has a very strong reputation of doing historically correct buildings.
Exactly.
I'll give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Charles.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Moving on to certificates of occupancy. This is Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-77-4-2.1, 243 Mile Harbor Road in Springs, This is yours.
Thank you. So this application to renovate, this application was approved to renovate the existing house and deck, renovate the existing barn and shed, construct a pool house with a porch, construct a new screen porch and a new shed. We approved, or ARB board approved this application back in December 15, 2022. This house is one of the Roberts Hefner houses, so it's a historic landmark. So you can see on the picture, this is the main house. Since then, you know, the renovation was fully completed. So this is the main house. If you can jump to the next picture. So the house and the deck, they were renovated, as well as the as well as the pool house in the back that was constructed with a little patio. The enclosure here you see, that's nowhere on the plan. That's just like to cover the pool equipment. We can talk about it in a little bit. So the applicant decided to not to construct the second shed as well as the screen porch. And another change from the proposed would be the location of the pool, which remains same as the previous pool and not what was proposed on the survey, I believe, from 2022. We can go to the next picture, please, Will.
Stuck. And there's the pool.
And, so this is just a close-up of the pool house with a little deck in front of it. Can go to the next. Here's if you're standing by the pool house, you will see the little pool and the main house as well as the enclosure there. You're looking towards the 3 Mile Harbor Road. The shed and the barn would be towards to the left, to the right. You should see them on the next picture. So this is the newly renovated shed that was existing. And we should have a last picture, which will be the renovated barn. You can see it all the way in the back.
So, having driven by this a lot, they took the house down to basically less than the studs because they had to, and then they rebuilt it.
It was falling down.
Yeah, it was falling down. It was a disaster, and it's a huge improvement. And this was Fanny Gardner's house at one point.
Oh,
I think overall it looks amazing compared to
It's very historically looking.
And they did a great job renovating the house. I think it's actually great that they decided not to construct the additional structures. So
They actually removed part of the house, I think. There's part of it that
a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
As-built CO, so it doesn't exactly match the resolution,
Okay.
but we can do it as-built.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Also on the right side, it's not on the picture, but there's like a small portion of the deer fence that I couldn't see anywhere. I think it's more for the building inspector, I have to call it out, but it wasn't a part of this application. So
I remember, I don't know if anybody remembers when there used to be a pink pickup truck with flat tires. Pink, it was Pig Pen Produce. It's come a long way, this property. Okay.
any more comments or?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a nice
So
project.
I would like to make a motion to instruct to staff to notify the building department that this applicant has satisfied the condition and the conditions and substantially confirms of the ARB approval of the resolution dated December 15, 2022, and certificate of occupancy can be issued to the as-built design.
May I have a second?
Second.
Chris, all in favor?
aye.
Frank?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously passed.
This is the back of the house.
Moving on, this is under certificate of occupancy still, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-163-3-15.2. This is 160 North Main Street in East Hampton. Frank, it's yours.
Okay, this is an application for a CO of this property that's off of North Main Street, set back on a flag lot.
Oh, yeah.
This is I mean, the addition dwarfs the existing house. If we can just go around with the photos, you know, the big things like the massing, the materials, and the glazing, this does seem to conform to our resolution. I don't know about the coloring of the railing, but I'm not sure we even called that out, or that was called out in the drawings. But, you know, this is not really visible from any public street. So I think it turned out fine.
I agree. Clara,
I have no comments.
Diane, Chris,
No comments.
I think we're good.
Okay. I could try and find a cheat sheet. Hang on.
I have it right here.
I would like to make a motion to instruct the truck staff to notify the building department this application has satisfied the conditions and substantially conforms to the ARB approval, and a certificate of occupancy can be issued.
I have a second.
Second.
Clara, all in favor?
Aye.
Chris, Diane, Chip, unanimously passed. Next C of O, this is Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-32-6-4.1. This is 136 Benson Drive in Montauk. Chris, it's yours.
This was a modification to the original resolution, which was dated November 1st, 2024, to change to actually build this pool shed structure on the pool deck where there was just a low structure before. We approved this with a modification resolution dated May 27th. It's built exactly like they said it would be. Here it is. Matches all the architecture and details of the rest of the complex. They also painted the existing sheds where there was no change. That's where the pool equipment sits, the same color. So that's basically it.
Okay.
It looks in compliance with our resolution. So, absent any other comments, I make a motion to instruct staff to notify the building department that this applicant has satisfied the conditions and substantially conforms to the ARB approval of the modification resolution dated May 27th, 2025, and a certificate of occupancy can be issued.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimously passed.
Thanks. Thank you.
Next on C of O's, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-172-3-26, 276 Bluff Road, Narragansett. Frank, it's yours.
Okay. Well, this resolution is dated only 2 months ago, so this went pretty quickly. So we approved a 5-foot high gate. The resolution says 34 feet back from the Bluff Road. Constructed with AZAC painted white, 5 feet high, 8 feet wide, 1.5 inch square spindles at the top. So it appears to conform to the resolution. One thing is there, but it's a building inspector thing. There is that stockade fence in the front there behind the hedge. It's never permitted, but that's a building inspector issue.
The gate looks terrific.
Yeah,
it looks very nice.
Yeah, give him credit.
Okay.
So,
Comments? No comments? All set.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to instruct the staff to notify the building department that this application has satisfied the conditions and substantially conforms to the ARB approval of the resolution.
We have a second?
Second.
Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimously passed. Last item for tonight, this is Pete's Garden Center, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-49-1-13.3, and this is 93 South Euclid Avenue in Montauk. Diane, it's yours.
Well, this is a very sweet, unassuming flower shop and garden center that's been greatly improved. I would like everyone to know that you can get a beautiful orchid for $68. I mean, a big 2-stem with tons of buds.
And let me guess, you did.
And a gorgeous selection of passion flowers for $22. I mean, the prices are fantastic.
So is this on the ocean side or
No.
inland side?
This is, yes, this is Euclid Avenue. It's in a it's an off street in a little commercial district. It's very sweet. It's greatly improved, and it conforms exactly to our resolution with this 6-foot-high agricultural fencing on the south and a 6-foot-high stockade fencing on the other side. And commercial vehicle parking and storage at the rear. Anyway, it's a big improvement. And anybody have any
Comments? I think we're
good
good.
shopping? Very good. Okay, then I would like to make a motion to instruct staff to notify the building department this application has satisfied our conditions and conforms to the ARB approval of the resolution dated January 13th, 2023. And a certificate of occupancy can be issued.
Second,
Second.
Clara, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Frank? Aye. Unanimously passed. That concludes our meeting. I'd like to make a motion to end our meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
Diane, all in favor?
Aye.
Matt, thank you very much. We're closing the meeting.
All right, you got it. Have a good evening.
Thanks.
You.